Hi there, Satin class. Today we're going to move our learning in angles on. We're going to draw angles. I know lots of you have been enjoying reading angles, measuring angles with your protractor. You've all done a very, very good job. I'm very proud of you. Today, as I say, we're going to draw angles. Because you can read angles, drawing angles, as long as you're accurate, should be fairly straightforward, but we will get lots of practice because you do need to be very accurate. So, I thought I'd bring up the instructions for the lesson. I'd put a BBC bite-sized game to practice reading the protractor. It says year 6, but we can do it. There's no reason why we can't do any of that. You just need to remember to use the correct scale. So you're watching my clip now. I will explain the task slides to you at the end. You'll need your yellow book, ruler, pencil and protractor. Are we ready? Here we go. So underneath my visualizer I'm going to go through measuring and drawing an angle. Drawing and measuring an angle. So I've got my protractor, I've got my ruler, my pencil and my yellow book. The first thing I've got is a question. It says draw an angle of 70 degrees. First thing I'm going to need is a line to draw my angle. So number 1, I draw a line. Okay, then I need to mark the end. Number 2, mark an end. Won't matter which end, but you'll see which scale you need to use. So think carefully if you've got enough space. We'll come on to that in a minute. So I've drawn my line, I've marked my end. Now I need to use my protractor. Before I do, I want to think about 70 degrees. Is it going to be acute or obtuse? It's going to be acute. It's less than 90 degrees. It's quite close to 90, being 70, so it's going to look a little bit sort of like that. Okay? So it's good to have an estimate in your mind, because then you can check against what you've drawn. So the third thing I do is line my centre up with the end of my line. So line up the centre with the end of the line. Okay, so for this one, my 0 is on which scale? It's on the inner scale, so I'm going to be reading the inner scale. I'm going to read round, mark off 70 degrees. So number 4, mark the degrees. Now I've made a lovely mark. I'm going to turn my book and I'm going to join up my mark with my end of my line. So you join the mark with the end of the line. Be as accurate as you can right in the corner to make a nice clear vertex. Okay, we can mark that angle in. So number 5, we joined. Oops, sorry, no, we join. We join the end of the line to the mark. Okay, and then we can mark in 70 degrees, and if we look at our original kind of estimate, it's very similar. It's definitely acute, and it is 70 degrees. We've measured it, we can check it. Okay, make sure it's all lined up. Now I would be wrong in saying it's 110 because I know my 0 is on my outer, sorry, my 0 is on my inner scale. Okay, I could write inner scale just to remind me of which one I used. Okay, number 6, check. Right, so I'm going to take you through that one more time, again with 70 degrees. I'm going to use my instructions. This time I'm not going to speak. You are going to watch. Okay, Saturn class, so you can see this one looks different. I had to use the outer scale. Can you tell me why I need to use the outer scale? That's right, the 0, when I read my protractor, was on the outside. I'll show you that one more time. The 0, my baseline, is on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to turn my page over and just go through one more example. This time I need to draw an angle of 145 degrees. Looking at 145 degrees, is that going to be obtuse or is it going to be acute? Well, it's more than 90, so it's going to be obtuse. It's not that close to 180 though, so it's going to look a little bit like that. Okay, so in my mind I'm thinking that's what I'm kind of aiming for. If it's a little bit this way or a little bit that way, as long as I've measured it accurately, but it will be obtuse. Nice and open. So, first thing I do is draw my line. Mark my point. Measure my angle. Now for this one, you can see I've made a bit of an error, because if I were to use the correct scale, which scale would I be using? I would be using the inner scale. My 0 is on the inner scale. So if I go all the way around to 140, I come off my page. So I'm actually going to swap that round and make the end point on this line, just to keep it nice and neat, but also to make it easier. I don't really want to be marking my table. Equally, it's just a lot easier if you've got a lot of space. So now we've got a better area to work in. So now we have to swap over because our 0's on the outer scale. So we now need to go all the way round to 145. So there's 140. 145 is going to be halfway between 140 and 150. Mark my point. I'm going to turn my book round so I can join my lines. Mark my angle in. Made a little mistake. 145 degrees. Okay, I'm going to do one more for you. This time again I'm going to go silently through it, so just watch the steps. Well, that doesn't look quite right. I was told I had to do 145, but when I measured it, it was 35. Have a chat to yourself or a grown-up or the dog. What have I done wrong? Because I drew it correctly. What did I do wrong? Okay, if you said that when I measured it and checked it, I read the outer scale, you'd be right. I need to make sure I read the inner scale. And actually, go back to my original guess. It's going to look similar to that. Absolutely, almost spot on. Okay, so you're going to have a go at drawing angles today. I'm going to bring back our slides because there are some questions on there. And I just want to show you how they appear for you. So you can use them off the screen. You don't have to print them out. You can write in your books. As long as you write in your books the question, how many degrees, so a bit like I did on my book, I just put the degrees I needed to work to. My computer's on a bit of a go slow. Whilst you're waiting, you could try and recap the steps in your brain. What did I do first, then, and next? Oh, here we go. Right, so the following slides have angles which you need to practice drawing into your yellow book. You need to use a ruler for the lines, and a decent sharp pencil. Be as accurate as you can. It is not a race. Okay, you have plenty of time to get this done. So, looking at the questions, they come up as a group per slide. There's a group of questions per slide. So each question has each slide has 4 questions, and you work steadily through. It's very similar to the way I've done it. What you don't need to do though, Saturn class, if I show you, you don't need 2 for each one. You can choose which way round, but make sure you get a good mixture of inner and outer scales, because it doesn't tell you on the question which one you need. So for example, for 80 degrees you might decide to measure it from the outer scale, and then 30 degrees you might decide to measure it on the inner scale. Then they get just a little bit more tricky as they go down, so you're looking at little ones with 5 degrees, but also now you're looking at 1 degree intervals. So rather than going to 90, you now have to think about those little ones in between. If I point to it on here, we've got 90, and we've got to go a little bit further past. We've got to really count as accurate as you can those little tiny marks, the tiny gaps. And then on slide 4, you will see that you need to think about an obtuse angle less than 160 degrees. So as long as it's, well, you think it through, what could it be, an obtuse angle less than 160 degrees? So it could be 95 degrees, because that's obtuse, it's more than 90, but the question says less than 160. So you could have 170, you could have 150, you could have 97, okay? B, you're looking again for an acute angle less than 40, and then a right angle, and then an obtuse angle larger than 160. So there's plenty to get your head round. You will enjoy this because we do love angles. They are quite fun, and they're quite pleasant to look at when they're done. They're nice to look at when they're done because they're beautifully presented with your beautiful straight lines. So good luck everybody. Have fun. I can't wait to see your work.